I am Mir Baseerat with yet another episode of What's Brewing. Punjab was in the throes of an economical, sociological and environmental meltdown when the state assembly elections turned into a political tornado. The Aam Aadmi Party uprooted not only a whole forest of leaders from Parkash Singh Badal to Amrinder Singh but possibly the Congress party from the national mantelpiece as well. The trajectory of the decimation of the traditional parties is not difficult to map. The Shrimoni Akali Dal was identified with and supported by the Sikhs and the farmers. The sacrilege charges had already eroded its identity as a party for the Sikhs. It blundered further by initially supporting the farm laws, thus losing the faith of the farmers. Being disconnected from the masses is not the exclusive domain of the Congress. How will the gloriously triumphant Aam Aadmi Party handle issues like pro-Khalistan, forgotten drug menace or handful of opposition? Well, that's what I'll bring to you in this episode of What's Brewing. If demonizing the Badals had provided Amrinder Singh with the license to power in 2017, his consorting with the same Badals after he became the chief minister became his nemesis. It was his bonhomie with the Badals that made Punjab hold him in contempt and eventually forced the Congress High Command to show him the door. The occasion provided the opportunity for change that the people were seeking from the stranglehold of the two families who had been at the helm of affairs for over a quarter of a century. Of the 79 Congress MLAs whose opinion was sought, other than Charanjit Singh Chani himself, only one other MLA opted for him. Still, the Congress High Command put Chani at the helm. Not to forget, Sidhu, a person who has delusions of having daily conversations with the gods and who had been earlier imposed as the state party president on the hapless Punjab Congress, was acceptable for only 4 Congress MLAs. Consequently, the party was lured out of power. It was no surprise that the Congress in Punjab, a party with raging internecine feuds, could not capitalize on the social engineering of appointing a lower caste chief minister, which was seen as a ploy to beat the anti-incumbency factor. But in its hubris of appointing a lower caste CM, the party grossly miscalculated the backlash from other sections. Decades of misgovernance, easy availability of drugs, rampant corruption, illegal sand mining, liquor lobby payouts and lack of employment opportunities had people frustrated and clamoring for change. If the Akali Dal is to blame for initiating the cynicism, the Congress is largely at fault for allowing the wants to fester. Indeed, the only real loser in the election is the Congress party. Amrinder Singh, in spite of his loss, has exacted his sweet revenge for the humiliation seemingly sanctioned by the Congress High Command. The level of dejection with the traditional parties was so large that people did not care to notice that, like these parties, the Aam Aadmi Party too has a high command that sits in Delhi, that 51% of its candidates have criminal records and over a fourth of its candidates were turncoats from other political parties. Desperately seeking a change, the people concluded that the Aam Aadmi Party would provide it. The Aam Aadmi Party did not need to be intelligent. It just needed to be seen as being different. As a party unencumbered by the past and without a legacy to drag it down, the Aam Aadmi Party thus won decisively. Looking ahead, the Aam Aadmi Party will quickly realize that it is easier to make bold promises than to deliver on them. There is little doubt that the real Aam Aadmi will feel shortchanged by the long list of promises and expectations that simply cannot be fulfilled. Time will tell if the Bhagwant Mann as the chief minister can wield power as a statesman. That will decide the fate of the Aam Aadmi Party as the road to India's capital leads through Punjab. Thank you and goodbye.